Welcome to another reading vlog. I will be reading 3 books for this reading vlog, and 2 of them are chunkers. So hopefully this vlog doesn't take me like forever, 3 months or so to film, but we'll see. First one I am reading is Tigana, and then I'm reading Lost Ark Dreaming on my Kindle, and I am reading A Clash of Kings. So I have already started Tigana, and Tigana is a love at first sight book for me. I am immersion reading this. I'm listening to the audiobook while I'm reading it, or sometimes I'll just turn on the audiobook because I'm like doing other things around the house and I just want to, listen to the audiobook, and I am loving this. So the audiobook is narrated by Simon Vance, which is like one of my top narrators. He narrates the Temporary series and he does an excellent job with that. And he is also narrating Tigana and doing an excellent job. He is such a gift and his voice is like so comforting and I absolutely love it. And then I totally get why everyone loves Gavriel and talks about how great his books are and how great his writing is, because seriously, page 1 of this book, we get this quote. "There was singing on the other side of the river too," he noted, listening to the enemy soldiers north of them. It was curiously hard to impute any absolute sense of evil to those harmonizing voices, or to hate them quite as blindly as being a soldier seemed to require. Page 1! Literally, we have this banger. I totally see why everyone loves Gavriel. It's awesome. The writing is gorgeous. I actually don't know that much about this book. I kind of going into this book blind. We seem to be following a traveling musician, and the king just died, and there's like some upheaval and just uncertainty in the air, and I'm very curious to see where it goes, but I'm loving it so far. Next, I am reading Lost Ark Dreaming, which I will put a cover of Lost Ark Dreaming over top of this so you don't see my Kindle the whole time. I am also absolutely loving Lost Ark Dreaming. I read the first chapter of Lost Ark Dreaming and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love the writing. I have a feeling I'm going to absolutely love this book, and I'm 20% in, and so far that's holding true. So this is like a futuristic book where the earth is covered in water and people live in these like high-rise buildings or skyscrapers. And there seems to be, at least in like this particular set of buildings, there seems to be like a class system where higher class people live in the higher parts of the building and then lower class people live undersea. And there does seem to be like some movement between the classes, because one of our characters we follow grew up undersea and is now like in the middle section of the building, and one of the characters who we meet that's undersea used to live higher in the building and seems to be choosing to live undersea. And I'm very curious to get to know this character more and to get to know more of the reasons behind this character's decision. And then we also have these creatures called the Children, which I don't know much about, aside from all of our characters seem to be kind of afraid of the children, and they are sea creatures with like webbed hands that attack humans, or like will attack boats that go out on the water. And they are also kind of concerned about like the children possibly attacking the tower. And our character that lives undersea, is responsible for the repairs of the tower and is frustrated that people higher in the tower won't fix the disrepair that seems to be happening to the structure of the tower undersea. And like this character notes that if the bottom of the tower falls, the entire tower falls. And I find this like really interesting and like so incredibly human, because the people in the upper part of the tower don't go down undersea. So they're not seeing the problems. And it's like so human if it's like, oh, I can't see the problem, and I think, that it probably doesn't even exist. Like people are making a big deal out of nothing because like I can't see it personally. But that doesn't mean it's not going to affect them or catch up with them later. And I'm just really interested in the setup of this story is great, the writing is beautiful, and I'm really curious to see like where the story goes, to get to see the characters more and to learn more about the monsters and why they're called children. So many questions, and I love it. I am super excited for all of my reading this vlog. Welcome. Enjoy your stay.
I have a goal to walk a mile every day this month, and sometimes that means I end up walking in the evenings when it's still chilly enough to wear a jacket. But this park near my house has this pond, and it's really nice to watch the sunset here. And it was a really nice evening just to be out in nature a little bit and see the sunset and be near the water where the birds are.
So I'm reading Lost Ark Dreaming, and I should note that this book is set in futuristic Africa because it mentions Mamawati in the section that I was just reading. And I know Mamawati is like a water spirit, and I was like, well, maybe the children refers to something. So I tried looking up and seeing if the children refers to something, and I couldn't find anything about that. However, I kept reading in the book, and then it called them the children of Yemoja. And I looked that up, and that's also a real thing. So Yemoja is like a goddess of the sea or of rivers. I have a lot more to learn because I've never heard of Yemoja before, but I feel like I'm going to be learning a lot by reading this book and then like looking these things up. And I'm excited to see where the rest of the story goes, and then also learning more about these things.
Okay. I have now finished Lost Ark Dreaming. I am most of the way through Tigana, or I think I'm at least like 60% through Tigana, and I have read 4 chapters of A Clash of Kings. And I want to talk about all of these books, although I'm starting with A Clash of Kings because I don't really think I'm going to talk about this book in this vlog. And the reason for that is I finished Lost Ark Dreaming, and I'm planning on finishing Tigana this week, which means the last portion of the vlog is just going to be focused on A Clash of Kings. And I have a couple advanced reader copy ebooks that are currently taking priority over A Clash of Kings, unfortunately, which means this is probably just going to be pushed off even later. So I might start another vlog where I am reading A Clash of Kings, like for real, reading it. But for right now, I think I'm putting this aside until I finish my other e-arcs, and I will be reading it soon. I am enjoying it, but I'm only 4 chapters in, so I don't really have that much to even say in this vlog, and I want the vlog to be more balanced between all the books that I'm reading instead of like one in the beginning and then like one at the end. With that said, let's talk about Tigana. I am feeling very differently about this book than I did in the last clip in which I talked about Tigana. So, I can talk a little bit more about what Tigana is about. Tigana, we're following these main characters who the peninsula that they live on has been overtaken by this sorcerer, and he has made everyone forget the name of Tigana, and only those who were born in Tigana can even remember anything about Tigana. So he's basically stripping these characters of their identity and culture. And then we are following these characters as they're fighting for their identity and culture and land back. And I like that aspect of the story. I also still love the writing of Gavriel. He has he has a way with words, and there has been many quotes, particularly in the early part of this book, that I was just like, wow, that is such a great way to say that. I am marking quotes because I'm just like, that is gorgeous. When I say marking them, this is a library book. I'm not actually like writing them in here, but like I'm writing down quotes from this book because they just really strike me. And I'm still immersion reading it with the audio, and I'm still loving the audio because I really like Simon Vance. However, I am starting to like kind of sour on some of the things in the book, and listening to Simon Vance just makes me want to read the Temeraire books because that's how I came to know and love Simon Vance's voice. And sometimes I'm reading this and I'm just like, I'd rather be reading Temeraire. So our main characters have done something, and I think it was in chapter 9 that they did something that I really, really don't agree with. And like, up until that point, I was like, yeah, I'm totally rooting for you. You have been overtaken by a tyrant and you want your land back. You want your culture, your community back. I totally understand. And then they were like, we don't want to be subjugated, but we're fine with subjugating someone else or other people in our path to not be subjugated. And I was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I can't really follow you anymore. And the way it was written in the story too was like so, I don't even know a good word for it. I guess maybe traumatizing. It was so terrible to read. On top of that, then we go to chapter 10, and I did not like chapter 10 either. And chapter 10 really is making me realize I'm not really a fan of the way the female characters are written in this book. And every single female character, we have 3 main female characters in the story. And within the first chapter, or within a very short span of them being introduced, we have a sex scene between them and one of our prominent male characters in this story. And we don't have the male characters treated in the same way as we do the female characters, and I'm starting to feel like the female characters are here to have sex with our male characters and not because they're here on their own. Now, Dianora is the slight exception to that rule because she actually has the most agency and motivation, but I'm really suspicious about where her storyline's going. And there's already been stuff in her storyline that kind of makes me uncomfortable with the plot that we're setting up around Dianora. So that's fun. On top of that, so then I went on to read chapter 11. And chapter 11 is a beautifully written, weird, long, unusual side quest. I just don't even know what to make of this book at this point because, well, even at the end of chapter 10, there was, okay, let's talk a little bit about the end of chapter 10. So the end of chapter 10, we have this very uncomfortable sex scene, and the reason it's cringe just reading about it, but then it has so many problems. We have dubious consent, for sure. We have a 20-year age gap. We have a power dynamic difference. We have, it's just weird the way they even talk about it afterwards. And then we find out that one of our other female characters in her sex scene that was way back in chapter 2 or 3, she was a virgin at the time, and it was just the whole thing started to feel like ick. It's why are we doing any of this? It felt weird. And then we go, our next chapter also ends, chapter 11 ends in a sex scene too. But chapter 11 ends way better. I'm actually fine with that one. There wasn't really anything quite as off-putting in chapter 11. The biggest thing about chapter 11 is just how unusual it felt, particularly compared to the rest of the book. And I kind of sort of understand the point of chapter 11 because we do have a really sweet scene at the end where one of our characters feels seen for the first time. And that's really beautiful, and I love that part, but it felt like a long side quest, and you're just who are these people? We've never met them before. Why are we here? Why are we doing any of this? And I kind of feel that way just about this book in general. So it's a beautifully written, what on earth is going on? I am planning on finishing it. And I have already asked in some of the discords if Gavriel K continues to be the way that Tigana is, because I think this was one of his earliest books. And I've heard that The Lions of Alarsan is one of his better books, and that he does have 2 prominent female characters in that book that are written much better, that don't have the weird, stereotypical lack of agency, cardboard feeling of the female characters in Tigana. So I might try that book next to see if I want to continue with Gavriel K's works. I talked for way too long in this clip, and I have some more B-roll, so I'm going to insert that here. I was able to complete my monthly walking goal for May, which is the first time I did that since February, I believe. I did not meet my distance goal in March or April, so I am glad that I am back at it again, and it helps that the weather's getting a little bit nicer and I can go to the park in the evening and enjoy my walk there. I also want to talk about these two geese families. They hang out at the park and they're very mean. Obviously, the parents are just protecting their kids, but they will literally walk towards you and hiss at you as you are walking on the path. They're also walking on the path and like hissing at you and wanting you to get away. But the evening that I was there, these red-winged blackbirds started harassing the geese, which I have never seen that before. And it was kind of amusing to see, particularly after the geese have harassed me. But I also am now kind of scared of red-winged blackbirds, because if red-winged blackbirds are okay with attacking geese, then maybe I should be worried about them too. But otherwise, it was a very nice evening at the park, and I still enjoy getting to see the wildlife and nature, and yes, even the geese sometimes.
On a much better note, I absolutely loved Lost Ark Dreaming to the point that it is in contention for my book of the year. And I know we're not quite halfway through the year yet, but we are getting close to halfway through the year. And I feel very comfortable, like how much I love this book I'm very comfortable saying Lost Ark Dreaming could be my book of the year. And I highly recommend it. I also feel like everything I talked about Lost Ark Dreaming in my previous clip was accurate, but at the same time, not the full picture of what the book's about. And I'm having such a hard time explaining what this book's actually about. But this book, we're following 3 characters, and we're kind of following a day in the life of these characters. And what I talked about previously about the bottom undersea part of the tower being in disrepair and feeling like people higher up don't care, that was from the perspective of our maintenance worker who is in the undersea part of the tower. And it's just kind of, we're getting to know her hopes, dreams, and fears. We don't actually explore that any further or see any resolution to that. And that's kind of the same with all of our 3 main characters. We get to know them and we get to know their hopes, dreams, and fears, but we don't necessarily get resolutions to all of the things that they are thinking about, because it's just their perspective for that moment. And then we're also following them on one of their worst days in their life, you could say, because this is not a normal day in the life. They are under threat. There is a looming outside threat that is causing, it's not even just an outside threat. There is a looming threat that is causing havoc and completely upending their lives. And we're following them on that day. And the pacing of this story is fantastic. And the short chapters really build the tension and suspense as we're getting to uncover a little bit more of what is going on in the tower and if there's really a threat from outside or not. And the biggest theme I think this book is what makes us human, what brings us together, why do we help each other, and also why do we harm each other? Like, just the human capacity for both good and bad towards other humans, and also coming together despite our differences to try to overcome things. But it doesn't give you easy answers. It is not some peachy story where everyone just comes together and is happy, the end. In fact, we're left with a very open ending and we're not even sure if things are happy at the end. But I loved it. The climax of the story was fantastic. Like, it was beautiful. The story is just beautifully written, and I kind of knew from chapter 1 that I was going to love this book, and it did not disappoint. Like, the entire book, it was wonderful. Also,
You're not really supposed to share quotes from advanced reader copies because there could be changes made before publication. But I cannot wait to get my hands on the post-publication, like the physical copy of this book whenever it comes out, because there are so many quotes in this book that I would love to share. It is beautiful. And like right up till the end, there was like stuff in the climax that I was just like, oh my gosh, this book is beautiful. This book is wonderful and I loved it. And there was something else I was going to say about it. I also finished this book several days ago and I'm still thinking about it. And I was telling my partner all about this book and I was like, oh my gosh, this book is amazing. Can I tell you just like all about it? Like we would just go, like we're just gonna go for an evening walk. And I'm like, this book is on my mind and I have to tell you about it. And it's just like the things in this book, I feel like this is one that's going to stay with me, that I'm going to think about for a long time, which makes it even more likely that it's going to be my book of the year by the end of the year, because I'm still going to be thinking about it. Whereas like some of the other books, whether I like them or not, sometimes I close the book and then I don't really think about it again afterwards. And that is not the case with this one. Like I am still thinking about Lost Ark Dreaming and I don't see that ending anytime soon. In fact, I would love to reread it. Like when I get my hands on the published copy of Lost Ark Dreaming, I might just reread it. So if any of that sounds interesting, go read Lost Ark Dreaming. It's beautiful. And it is told like, I don't want to say a day in the life to make it sound like a slice of life story, because I don't think Lost Ark Dreaming is a slice of life story. I think it's more of a suspenseful story as they're uncovering the mysteries. So that's the end of this clip, I guess. I do plan on posting a full review for Lost Ark Dreaming, which might come out before I finish this vlog, but I haven't actually like written the review or filmed it yet. So look for that if you're interested in maybe more refined, polished thoughts on that. And then I will be finishing up Tigana and finishing up the vlog. So I'll see you in a couple seconds for you, but you know, it might be a couple days for me.
We finally had a very nice, very warm day, and of course it was super windy, which was actually nice because it was a warm wind and I can enjoy a nice warm wind outside occasionally. I don't want that all the time. But yes, this is the same pond that I have in all the other clips that I was taking nice calm reflection pictures or videos on, and the wind is making it super choppy, which is really interesting to see. Final clip of the vlog. We've arrived at the final clip of the vlog and I have finished Tigana. But first I'm gonna scream about Lost Ark Dreaming a little bit more, because seriously, go read this book. This is super underrated. It only has 198 ratings on Goodreads. I should check how many it has on Amazon. It's only been out for like 2 weeks, I think, at this point, maybe 3 weeks. So, I mean, it hasn't had that much time, but also go read it. It's very short. Look at it. I got it from my library, so that way I could write down all the quotes. And I've been spamming my Discord, so if you're in my Discord, I'm sorry for the spam, but also go read them because they're beautiful. And it makes me happy, so that's why I'm sharing them in my Discord. So I just finished filming my review for Lost Ark Dreaming, and I'm pretty sure I did it enough justice talking about this book in this vlog already. But I'm just gonna read the back of this book because I actually did not include... People are loud sometimes. I know I live on kind of a main road, but like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I'm gonna read the back of this book because I did not include it in my words. I did not include it in my review video, but I did include some of the other quotes because they make me happy. So this says, "What are we but water and skin? What are we but stories that touch? The hand that feeds is sometimes bitten. The hand that feeds is but a foot in disguise. Ask not what is, but what isn't. Ask not what is, but what may be." that gives you just a tiny glimpse of the writing in Lost Ark Dreaming. He's so beautiful. He's so beautiful. And I literally took pictures because like there is these parts in the book, because this whole part on the back is like the titles of these things, these sections in this book. Now, like most of the book is like a normally written book. We do have things like, I just flipped past one right here. This is like a transcript. So we do have transcripts that like tell you about different things going on. So you get glimpses into other parts of the story. And then we have like these poem things. And then we have just like the story. It's so beautiful. Go read it. I'm going to be screaming about this book for a while because I love it. So now we're going to talk about Tigana, which I do not love as much, nearly as much. It is also beautifully written, okay? I have so many quotes from this book, and I am going to read you my favorite quote, which I also put in my Discord because I put some of my favorite quotes in my Discord. It was a nighttime truth that became a queer private sorrow for him. It was a nighttime truth that became a queer private sorrow for him. Several attempts later. I am having trouble with this quote, so I'm gonna put my glasses on because that is probably gonna help me because it's hard to see. Oh, that's better. It was a nighttime truth that became a queer private sorrow for him amid all that came after. A symbol, a displacement of regret, a reminder of what it is to be mortal and so doomed to tread only one road, and that one only once, until Morian called the soul away and Iana's lights were lost. We can never truly know the path we have not walked. See? Beautiful. So much easier with glasses too. You know, I'm gonna have to record my new books video with glasses on because it's so much easier to read things. Anyway, he has great writing. But amid all the beautiful writing, I sometimes felt a little detached from the story and not like super into the character perspectives. Like I never really felt like I could really get inside the heads. Like it was almost too beautiful of writing. And I'm not sure if it's just the writing or if just like I didn't care for some of the characters and some of their choices. Speaking of which, last time I said that the characters made a choice that I really, really disagreed with. Well, guess what? They fixed it by the end of this book, but I completely disagree with the way they fixed it. It was awful. They fixed it in the worst way with the worst motivations possible. So I still hate our main characters for that decision. That one plot line is just no. There were some cool things. There was this ring ceremony that was very interesting. It was very surprising because it has like very high stakes and it seems like, why would a culture continue to do this? Oh my gosh. But it's also like very interesting to read. So like there were things like that. And then the end of this book, like the last chapter, just everything happens all at once. So it is an absolute avalanche of an ending. And it is a beautiful ending. But it also left some plot lines just dropped off, or we didn't really tie everything together as much as I expected. And yeah, and some of the characters, like we talked to them earlier in the story and then they like kind of disappear and we don't really see them much again later or get resolution to certain characters' plot lines. And then my other kind of complaint about this book is I feel like a lot of what we're exploring is grief, and we do see characters grieving and maybe some like different explorations of grief, but we're also exploring characters who have been displaced and are trying to, find their identity and get back their homeland. And every single character from Tigana, which is did I already talk about this? Tigana is the place where all of these characters are from that has been destroyed and everyone's forgotten the name of Tigana and all of that. Pretty much every character from the Tigana has the exact same reaction to wanting to get their homeland back, to things. And there was an interview at the end of the audiobook with the author, and the author even said that he has a character in the story say, well, the roads are safer now than they were under the previous ruler.
and it's supposed to like make you think and go, but I don't think the story really grappled with that kind of stuff at all. There was maybe this like throwaway line that talked about that, but I'm like, we didn't even have any characters from Tigana that was like, yeah, things are better now, or we didn't have any characters who, you know, just were grappling with their identity differently than all of our main characters. It just kind of seemed like people had this like vision of Tigana, and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, we have to get Tigana back, and you know, we have to do whatever we can to like group together and restore everything because of these awful things that happened previously. And I don't know, I felt like it was lacking. That's where I am with Tigana. So I mean, I did like the end. The writing was beautiful. I have very mixed feelings about this book, if you can't tell. And I feel like maybe I've mostly said negative things. It is what it is. Very beautiful writing, one of the best prologues I've ever read. Like, seriously, the prologue in this book made me so intrigued to read the rest of the book. Like, I don't usually feel that way about prologues. I'm not, like, usually prologues don't grab me the way the prologue in this book grabbed me. So, one of the best prologues I've ever read, really beautiful writing. Not sure I'd actually recommend the story because, So, read Lost Ark Dreaming instead of Tigana. It will take you a lot less time to read it, and that is my vlog. I feel like I don't know how to end this. If you've read either of these, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you are reading, and happy reading. I'll see you in another video.